screwed it up again. I haven't played guitar for, God, almost like a month now. Like, I need to get back to it, and I screwed it all up right there. That's like, I'm usually pretty good at that one. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too bad, and I didn't know y'all too much. So I want to talk today, now that I'm finally off work. So it's Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. I work Tuesday to Saturday. So, I got off work slightly early today, thankfully, and figured I'd make a video. So, I need some water first. There's a pretty hefty wildfire not too far away from Salt Lake City right now, but it is up in the mountains. It's not going to make it over here probably. Salt Lake City itself never really sees wildfires, but it's a pretty bad fire. There was one up in a reservoir close by here, but I think they got that one out. But there's a pretty big one up in the Uintas that's causing people to have to evacuate. Like there's one down south too. Wildfires everywhere. This is just wildfire season. They're everywhere, but that smoke's in the air. So I've been trying to not be outside as much. I'll go for my runs. I always go for a run on Sundays and Mondays, so I'll still do that. But the air is insane outside right now. But so I came across an old clip that I had seen on YouTube a while ago. I'd say about a year ago. The clip itself was like 3 years old, but it's between Chris Williamson and brain fart Jordan Peterson. Who a lot of people I think assume Jordan Peterson is like Red Pill and Chris Williamson might be Red Pill. Like neither of them are. They're just kind of like me. They're not really Red Pill, but they do talk about masculinity a lot and what that is, and just kind of pick on everybody that's really stupid. But there was one clip where that Jordan Peterson has a different outlook on this, and there's another clip of another YouTube channel that's called Warrior Poet Society. I think this guy, I'm pretty sure this guy's a veteran, but whiskey and Coke. And French fried potatoes. I haven't seen that movie in so long. Sling Blade. All right, let's move on. But Warrior Poet Society talks about, let me back up, because what got me into thinking about this more today was I saw a video. It was like a really quick shorts video of a girl on a motorcycle, and she was recording it. But I don't understand the people that record themselves riding a motorcycle all the time. It's weird. Maybe it's like a thing to just make sure that if somebody like hit and run or something like that, it's like a dash cam, I guess. I don't know. But she was riding. Tiny little girl. She had to be like 5 feet or less, and she's on a 650 crotch rocket. And a guy pulls up beside her in an SUV, and he's like, he says something, how big is that bike? And she goes, it's a 650, which isn't huge. It's not super fast, but it is fast, especially if you're a tiny person. It's a crotch rocket. They're going to be fast anyway. But he said it's 650. So the guy says the dumbest thing possible, and it's one of the reasons women hate men now. And he goes, do you need all that bike for such a tiny person? Which is just the dumbest thing. Why? Come on, man. We can't be this stupid. Anyway, so she replies with, do you need all that SUV for such a tiny man? Which I thought was funny. I laughed, the guy, he opened himself up. He walked into that one. And then the guy didn't say anything. He just got mad and drove off. Like, he didn't even say anything. He just left. And so I looked in the comments. I got curious, immediately curious, because I knew what was going to happen. And I looked at the comments. It's all women, obviously, siding with the woman on this. And I'm siding with the woman too. It was funny. I laughed at it. But the women that were in the comments were just basically just shaming the guy. And honestly, he did that. He kind of deserved it. But these are the same women that when all this man versus bear shit was going on, these are the same women that said that all men are dangerous, all men are a threat. Men will murder women just for getting rejected or embarrassed. This woman basically showed this guy that he had no balls. So she shamed this man into submission with one line, and he didn't do anything. He just drove off. And that's what most men are going to do. That's what most men will do. But I was like, either we're just to these feminists, to these women, men are either just no ball, just like pansies. I don't know how to put it. Or we're the most dangerous thing on the planet and we will murder you for looking at us wrong. Which is it, feminists? Which you got to make up your mind. We can't be both of them. But here's the thing. Then it got me to thinking again about this clip with Jordan Peterson and Chris Williamson that I had seen in a couple other videos. And I remember back during this man versus bear stuff where all the women were saying that all the men are so dangerous. We're all a threat. And a lot of men were commenting saying, no, men aren't dangerous. You're just blowing it out of proportion. And I over time, I've kind of thought about this, and I'm like, no, men should be dangerous. Like, real men are dangerous people, and we need to be. We have to be dangerous. The difference is being kind and dangerous. Having the ability to enact violence at a moment's notice, being able to inflict harm on others, is a masculine trait. But it's only a masculine trait if you have the ability to keep that shit in check, under control, and don't lash out at people that don't need it lashing out on. And in fact, you shouldn't be lashing out. 99% of the time, nothing needs to be an argument, you know? And insecure men and men who are not as masculine as they believe they are the ones that are causing the problems. They're the ones that lash out. They're the ones that are loud in a room. They're the ones that are constantly showboating. That's not masculine. That's a little bitch baby behavior right there. It is. So I got to thinking, and I remembered this clip, and I'm not going to show it, but I'll link it if I can remember. I always forget. But it's basically where Jordan Peterson doesn't talk about just enacting violence. He does mention that in another clip, I think. But he made another good point, was that your literacy and your tactfulness with your tongue. He didn't put it like that, but I'm putting it like that. Is knowing when to hold your tongue, when to actually speak up, and when to actually just observe and shut up. You know, things like that also are dangerous. They can be dangerous, and because when everybody's being loud and everybody's it's just chaos. Say something happens. You see these videos when something happens in public, and it might be like a car wreck or a car crash or something like that, and the woman starts screaming, just like all the time, every single time. What does the man do? What's the man doing? He usually just looks over like, what are you screaming about? Why are you screaming? It's not going to do anything. To me, that's a masculine man. There's no need for the screaming. The man's just observing. Okay, what just happened? Pause. Are we safe? Are we fine? That's masculinity. That actually can be dangerous, because when everybody else is losing their mind, you are cool, calm, and collected. So you know what to do. You can think straight. And that's important too. But, you know, holding your tongue, you know, if somebody insults you out in public, you know, I will let people be rude to me once. Like, basically once. So I was talking to somebody. When I started this last job, we started delivering to a warehouse, and there's this girl, a young girl that works there at the gate. So her entire job is to check me in and let me in the gate. That's it. That's all she does. But the first time I came there, she was like explaining everything to me, and it's this long spiel about how everything runs there. But I was like, oh, I've been here before. You know, in her defense, I kind of interrupted her a little bit. I was like, well, I've been here before. And then she goes, well, why aren't your tandems back? In trucking, the tandems are the trailer wheels on the trailer, and you can actually move them forward and backward, in case you didn't know. At this place, we're supposed to move them backwards all the way before we come in. And I was like, well, I just got here. I was about to get out and put them back. And then she interrupted me, and she was really rude. And I'm like, but she was rude before I interrupted her in the first place. Like, she was like, you're supposed to fill out this way. It was like, okay. I mean, it's been a while since I've been here. Sorry. But she was rude. Okay. I'm like, bad day, whatever. So about the third time I'd gone through there, and she was rude to me every single time. And this time there was a guy in front of me. She was also being really rude to this guy. And I never said anything, but when I saw her be rude to the other guy, I just came through and I kind of gave her a side eye. She wasn't rude to me that specific time, but I went in, did everything I needed to do, and I always take an empty trailer out after I deliver. And I just grabbed an empty trailer and I was leaving. And when I got to the gate, she slings the window open and she's like, next time you're not supposed to take an empty unless you ask us first. If you do that again, I'm going to have you take the empty back and I'm not going to give you one. Okay? And I just kind of stared at her for a little bit. And remember, this is like the third or fourth time she's been rude to me for no reason, out of pocket. And I'm like, what part of the information that you just gave me required you to be such a bitch? She just she was like, I shut her up. She didn't know what to say. Now, the thing is, I only did that after she knows she had been rude to me. She knew she'd been rude to me over and over and over. Since I thought I was going to get in trouble with work, like maybe she would call work and tell them that I bitched her out or something like that. But I just drove off. And since then, every single time that I have gone to that warehouse, she has been the utmost professional and the nicest person to me. Maybe she just needed somebody to call her out on her bullshit, and that goes for everybody. That's what I'm saying. Tactfulness with your tongue. You could be rude to me a few times, but when I call you out, I'm going to let you know what I think of you. And it will change some people's behavior. It will make them fall in line. Well, not really fall in line, but just be more respectful and be kind, But also, obviously, we'll get down to the point where being dangerous, being able to defend yourself, being able to defend your family, your friends, if needed, or even people you don't know. I keep beside my bed while I sleep. This is basically my home defense pistol. It was very cheap, but I've put probably 400 or 500 rounds through this thing, and it runs flawlessly. It's a Glock clone. It's amazing. I love it. It's just a great gun. But I got one more story I'll tell, and that'll probably run us out on time here. But as far as carrying, I live in Utah. I don't believe everybody should carry, because a lot of people just don't know how to shoot. You can't just buy a gun and not know how to shoot. So if you're thinking, I'm gonna buy a gun, you need to learn to use the gun properly, safely, not to hurt, so you don't hurt yourself or somebody else. So we had an instance here in Utah during the No Kings protest. Whether you agree with it or not, whatever, it happened here in Utah, and the mayor requested no guns. I didn't go to this thing, of course, but it's a thing, and the mayor requested no guns. So that announced to everybody, okay, these people aren't going to have guns. So some guy showed up with an AR-15, and he was walking toward the crowd with the AR-15 out. And little did he know that we had some people posted up that had guns, not cops, but like citizens that had guns. They were there to protect. So this guy, the protector guy, I don't even know what they called him. He opened fire, took the AR-15 guy out before he could open fire on the crowd here in Salt Lake City. This never happens here. But one of his rounds, a stray bullet, hit who I believe was a Polynesian fashion designer. He's like beloved in the fashion community that lived here, and killed him. Just killed him, outright killed him right there. So again, yes, you should be able to defend yourself and others if needed, especially with a pistol, but you need to know what you're shooting at. You need to be well versed in that weapon, period. Do not pull that thing out unless you've trained with it and you know damn well you can hit something dead on at 10 to 15 yards. Don't do it. Don't carry a gun if you don't know how to use the damn thing, because you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to kill somebody else that doesn't deserve it, So safety brief right there. I'm an Army guy. I always think like that. But yeah, I say to women, carry a pistol, learn to shoot, carry a pistol somehow, carry something, some pepper spray, a little stabby pin. They make those stabber pins you can stab people with. They make keyring things. They make keyring, like tasers and buzzers. I don't know what, not like a taser. I don't know what it's called. But it electrocutes. It hurts. Or, learn some self-defense. I think that should go for everybody. Learn some self-defense. I learned to box when I was in Boy Scouts. I'm not going to say I'm a boxer, but I learned to fight when I was in Boy Scouts. And then I learned actual combat self-defense, hand-to-hand, and combatives in the military. So I know how to defend myself without a gun or a knife. I'm not a knife guy. I'm not going to try to defend myself with a knife unless it's last resort, because apparently everybody says if you go to a knife fight, you're probably going to get cut. I don't want to get cut. I don't want to do that. So last story here. is why I carry a pistol, even here in Utah, where it's pretty safe. So where I live isn't the nicest area of town. It's still nicer than most places in most big cities, because Salt Lake City is just a clean place. But when I need to go to Target, it's only like 2 blocks away. I will get out. I'll just go down and walk. But I have to go through a sketchy alley where homeless people are sometimes just hanging around. And nothing against homeless people, but homeless people tend to be homeless because they're either addicts or they're mentally ill. And addicts and mentally ill people can take things to some extremes. And this is the only time here in Utah that I've ever had a weird run-in with a homeless guy. So I went to Target. I bought toothpaste. That's all I needed. So I'm walking back. Of course, I'm carrying. Not carrying this one. This one's too big to carry. But I have one of my pistols, and it was concealed. Always concealed. I do not open carry, and I never will, for multiple reasons. You can look those up. You'll probably find it pretty quick. But still, I was walking back, had my bag of toothpaste, and I hear like a hey behind me. I didn't think anything of it. I just kept walking. So it's not far. I'm probably within a block of my apartment building by this point. But like the hey came up again. Like this guy said hey, and this time it's closer. So whoever's behind me is walking faster than I am. This is going to set an alarm bell off in my head. So I turn around, and probably about 30-ish yards away, there's what I would assume to be a homeless guy. He had no shirt on. Or he had overalls, coveralls. It's overalls with the straps. But he had no shirt. He was just walking behind me, very unkempt. And I'm like, I just kind of turned around and looked at him, and he's like, "You took my cane." I'm like, "No, I didn't." I kept walking, and he kept walking, but he was walking faster than me. And I was like, I'm not going to speed up. I'm not scared of the dude. But I kept walking, and he's just catching up to me, and he kept accusing me of stealing his cane. And I'm like, dude, I didn't take your cane. Do I look like I have your cane? I'm pretty sure I was wearing this shirt too. But he was like, no, you hid it or you threw it away. Pull your shirt up. And by this time, he was like probably within 5 yards of me. I'm almost back to my apartment building. I'm starting to get a little antsy because he won't leave me alone. He's like following me. And I was like, dude, I didn't take shit. All right. This time I got a little vulgar with him. And that made him mad, but whatever. But he was like, lift your shirt up. I'm like, I'm not going to lift my shirt up because I'm carrying concealed. I have a pistol under my shirt, and I don't want to show him that. So I was like, I'm not going to pull my shirt up, but I mean, you can tell I don't have your cane. Like, I didn't take anything. You're imagining it, or you're crazy. I didn't say that to him either. I was trying to quell the situation down, but I wasn't going to stop because I don't know what this dude's got on him, knife, whatever. But I was pretty much back to my building, and I was walking towards the door. And by this point, he's like walking with me. He's beside me. And I'm like, dude, I don't have anything. Just leave me alone. All right. And so I pulled my little sensor thing out to open my door. It's not a badge, just like a little coin thing. Open the door, and I go to walk in, and he grabs the door to try to follow me in my apartment building. And I stopped. That's when I stopped. And I didn't want to like get into a scrap with him, because if he felt my gun, he might try to go for it. And then it's going to be a bad day for both of us, however that ends. So, at this point I stopped, and I was like, I had to turn around and tell him, like, dude, you can't come in here. This is a secure building. I didn't take your cane. If you don't leave, I'm going to have to hurt you. And that just set him off. Like, this dude was out of his mind. So either on drugs, I don't know. But he tried to push himself into the building and get to me. I was holding him back with my arm, but I basically had to like Spartan kick this dude to get him out of the door. And I closed the door and it locked behind him. And it's a glass door, so he was standing there. He didn't bang on it or anything. He's just yelling. I'm like, dude, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops, or I'm going to come out there and do what the cops would do in the first place. And he's like, just kind of stared at me, and you could see us processing what he meant. And he kind of turned around. He didn't like leave, but I started to walk back toward the elevator. And then I passed 2 young women that were walking out. They were going out the door. And I was like, hey, there's a crazy, I'm assuming homeless person out there that just followed me around, telling me I took his cane. And he's off his rocker, so I'm going to follow y'all back out there to make sure he's gone, because I didn't want him to do anything to them. So they're like, yeah, okay. So I walked back out there. They got in their car and left. This dude had disappeared. I don't know where he was. He was like crackhead speed. He just disappeared. I guess, I'm going to call the cops, or I'm going to take care of you. I guess that ran him off. I don't know. But luckily, I never had to do anything. I don't want to have to use my pistol on a homeless person. I think I would go to jail for that, because what did you get? You shot a homeless guy? Like, no. He was trying to come after me. But again, that's the thing. Like, I can fight, I can take care of myself. I'm more willing to fight hand to hand if I'm not carrying a pistol. If I'm carrying a pistol, I want to avoid it altogether, because if somebody feels it, they're going to try to take it. And that ends bad for one of you or both of you. So it's just, being able to handle a situation and not escalate it, but also know when to de-escalate it and how to de-escalate a situation. This isn't concealed carry. This is just in general. That is masculinity. That's being dangerous, and knowing when to be dangerous, when not to be dangerous, when to be kind, when not to be kind. You should be kind at all times unless it's not called for. Like I always say, respect is not, it's earned, yeah, but I think you should be respectful to most people in the first place. Until they disrespect you, and then you can bully them. All right, that's it. That's our video. Boom. Be a dangerous man. Y'all have a good one.